Hello, my name is Adam Trosen, and this is the demo portion of my talk about building production-grade agents. Here you can see a product that we're building at Blue Folders called KeepFill. This is used to monitor the level of fuel in tanks at hundreds of different gas stations and automatically create orders when they're getting low. But what I want to talk about today is a special feature that I've added to our chatbot. You can see here that the chatbot is capable of doing several things. It can fetch information about stores and orders. It can even update those orders with new products. But I want to talk about a special new tool that I gave it for the purposes of this demo that allows it to create a new tool and use that tool in real time to resolve against customer queries that it hasn't seen before. So for example, I see that I have a number of alarms in the system that are active. Let's ask the chatbot about them. What alarms do I have active at store 65 France Avenue? Now, again, this is a request that the chatbot hasn't seen before. So let's watch it work in real time. On the right, you can see temporal, which I'm using to implement both the agentic loop and all of my tool calls. You can see here that the message was received. It passed that message into OpenAI, where it determined that a tool call to a special invent tool was required, and then we invoked that tool as a child workflow. That child workflow has three main steps: specify, implement, and invoke. We follow those steps because we want to provide structure to how the tool is actually implemented. So let's look at that in detail. Here's the spec tool workflow. You can see the description, the name, the description, and the arguments that our tool should support. And you can see as a result of this workflow, we have a full implementation guide. In order to create that implementation guide, the workflow began by reading a file from the source code. Let's take a look at it. This implementation guide outlines for the coding agent how it should go about creating new chatbot tools. But this guide is generic. It doesn't say specifically how to build every tool. It is up to this specification step to take this generic guide and make it specific for the tool that was requested by the user. So if we jump back, after we've completed the creation of that specification, we go on to actually make the tool itself. So here that specification is provided as an input into Claude Code. So I'm actually invoking Claude Code from my temporal workflow, so I can orchestrate the steps that happen before and after. All right, so Claude has completed its implementation after a little bit of time. We went on to invoke a build step so that we understand, so that we can validate that its implementation was of quality, at least it passes the build. And then we go on to invoke that tool immediately. And if I scroll down here, you can see the result from my query using that newly invented tool. Here I can see that I have some stale readings in the system. So I asked the question then, what would it take to actually feel confident enough in a system like this to put it into production? And it begins with error analysis in a tool like Arise Phoenix. So here in Arise, I can see the process from the initial message that my chatbot received Here I'm initializing that chatbot session. Here I can see where it's reasoning about, uh, the specification, creating a specific implementation plan for the tool that was requested. And here I can see that it invoked Claude Code. But I don't have a great view here for the code that was actually produced by the coding agent. So for that, it can be helpful to create a custom evaluator that is really domain specific. So here I have built a custom evaluation tool. I can see the prompt that was passed to my coding agent with some simple formatting. I can see the output that Claude gave on standard output when it completed its task. And I've collected a git diff so I can validate line by line all of the changes that the coding agent made. I can also apply my open codes by attaching arbitrary notes and my axial codes as I apply different forms of failure mode that may have occurred in the course of this implementation. And then, of course, use that information to understand what the most common failure modes are and provide the next version of prompts and guides and tools that help my workflow complete better with higher quality. I hope you enjoyed this demo. Thank you very much.